My name is Sharon McManus and I am an Army Engineer Officer in the Irish Defence Forces. In the Army, in the Defence Forces, the Army Engineer role has two distinct aspects to it. There's the combat role, which involves mobility, counter-mobility and survivability. And then there's the civilian engineering type role, which is the maintenance of all our lands, buildings, roads, etc. within the Defence Forces organisation, both at home and overseas. So the civilian engineering role is, as I said, you manage and maintain all of the buildings in terms of new builds, refurbishments, contracting, design, tendering, that type of thing. We also would have responsibility for fire engineering, energy engineering, conservation, etc., etc. And that's what we do in Ireland on all of our barracks, which are essentially like campuses or small towns in many towns in Ireland. On the other side of my role then, it's the combat engineering role. And the mobility side relates to keeping the army moving, providing bridges and roads and a safe access for our army troops to move either at home or overseas. So this could mean like a bridge, or it could mean using a trackway, kind of temporary road in an area that might be flooded or in a bogland or something like that. Counter-mobility then is the opposite, and this would be in a wartime scenario. So we train for, I suppose, slowing down the enemy, for want of a better word. And this would involve what we call explosive demolition. So we use a lot of explosives. We would have to demolish bridges. You might have to create roads or fell trees to impede the passage of somebody through an area. The survivability role then is mainly related to our overseas camps. So every time a soldier deploys overseas, they normally deploy to a camp, an operational camp. And it's the engineer's role to build and maintain this camp and to provide essential life support services, so electricity, which provides power for everything, and water, clean running water, all of the buildings, fire protection, and any environmental or energy related aspects. Well, I was always very interested in maths subjects and science subjects in school, so I always knew I wanted to do something with maths or science or engineering, but I wasn't quite sure. And I was also very active in school. I was quite sporty. I did lots of different sports, and again, I wanted to do something that was, active and maybe a little bit outdoorsy. So I suppose what drew me to the army was the want to do something that included travel and included being active and an adventure, I suppose. That's really what I wanted. So I had applied to do actually PE teaching and maths when I was in school. So when I was doing my Leaving Cert, that was the college course that I was going to do. And I'd also applied for an army cadetship, which is a 21-month course at the time in the Curragh camp, which would train you to become an army officer. I was successful in securing the cadetship, so I chose that after my Leaving Cert. I didn't even know at the time, I think, that you could do engineering through the army, or that there was even such a thing as the engineer corps. And after finishing the cadetship, I decided that I wouldn't do PE teaching in college. I'd had a couple of years to reflect and to grow up a little bit, and I decided that actually I'd like to do engineering and expand that side of my, I suppose, my skill set and my interest. And I'd learned a lot about problem solving and working in teams during my cadetship, so I thought this might be a nice avenue to go down. I wasn't even sure if I'd be able for it. But I went to NUIG Galway, started civil engineering in 1999 and haven't looked back since. I was very lucky. My parents were very encouraging of me all the way through my life. So I would say it was my mother who encouraged me to join the army. I think she saw something in me when I was quite young, maybe around 12 or 13, and she mentioned that the army was a career path that I could aspire to, which is probably unusual for girls and their mothers, back then. But yeah, she was a great influence on me in that regard. My father was a building contractor, and he always encouraged the math side of me and the engineering side of me actually subsequently. So as I had said earlier, I had been thinking of doing PE teaching and maths, and when I was wondering whether I should change to engineering, I had a good chat with him, and he would have encouraged me to try engineering and to give it a go. Even though I would have maybe had doubts about whether I would have been able for it or not academically, but he really encouraged me to give it a try. So he was a great encouragement in that area. When I was in school, we had a very good career guidance teacher who organised events where female army officers came in to talk to us in our school. I went to Our Lady's Bower in Athlone. It was an all-girls school, but they really encouraged the STEM subjects, diverse career paths, and the army as well. So I think those kind of early influences, really helped me. I suppose I never had any doubt or any fear about going into like the army or STEM subjects or the world of engineering. I never saw any barriers to it because I'd always been encouraged in that area. And then in the army, I would have been encouraged by some of the senior officers in the Army Cadet School, who also would have encouraged me to do engineering and would have seen, I suppose, potential for me in that area. I was the first female cadet to study engineering and to join the Engineer Corps as a result. So whilst that was, in 1999 to 2003, it's not that long ago, but it's amazing to think that I was the first female cadet to do engineering at the time. I think the advice that I would give is to not to doubt yourself, to believe in your own abilities and your own skills. Especially in engineering, nobody has all the answers. It's very much about teamwork. Everybody has different skill sets, and we really need, cognitive diversity to solve the complex problems that we face in societal problems, technical problems that we face in the world today. So I would say, believe in yourself, have confidence, come to the table with your ideas and your opinions, and contribute. And be part of a team, and don't feel that it's all on you or that you have to have all the answers to everything, because you absolutely don't. But what you do have is a different perspective, which is really needed around the table.